The Dallas Cowboys, from a talent perspective, are a better team. They've got weapons all over the place. And even though Dak Prescott had the shoulder injury for some inexplicable reason, they still had him go out there and throw the damn football 44 times. Made absolutely no sense whatsoever. Carson Wentz, on the other hand, what did he do? 31 of 40 for 319 yards, a touchdown, 0 interceptions, only sacked, one time. He didn't have his number 1, his number 2, nor his number 3 receiver. Zach Ertz got hurt during the game. He goes out. You got to rely on your secondary second-year tight end. You got a guy in Greg Ward, another guy in Boston Scott, and others. These dudes were on the practice squad at the beginning of the season. This is not some referendum on the career of Carson Wentz. I'll leave that to you two. What I would say, Max, is that this ain't the day to get on him. Not after yesterday. Because yesterday, what we saw was a must-win for both squads. We saw Carson Wentz go down 2 years ago en route to an MVP, potential MVP award. Then last year, he goes down again after going 5 and 6. Nick Foles steps in once he gets hurt again because he was never fully recovered from the injury from the previous year. Okay, so he goes down. He had never been in a playoff game. He had never been in this kind of pressurized situation. Now we're looking at him. We've been questioning him all year long, without question. So what's his numbers? He's completed nearly 65% of his passes. He's got 26 touchdowns and just 7 interceptions on the year, which, by the way, that guy, Deshaun Jackson, that we continue to ignore to some degree because he's been out pretty much since the start of Game 2 of this season. The one game we did see Deshaun Jackson was in the season opener when the Eagles came back against the Redskins and he started off the season, you're looking relatively decent. What did Deshaun Jackson do that game? 8 receptions for 154 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 bombs. His deep threat, his vertical game was gone because Deshaun Jackson was no longer there. So you've got no vertical game. You've got your top 3 receivers down. You're playing with 2 practice squad players as your wideout and a secondary tight end, and you still beat the Cowboys. This ain't the day to talk about Carson Wentz.
I appreciate saying this is not the day, but we're asked how much credit does he deserve?
About yesterday.
So I'm listing the people who deserve credit before him.
And you put
That's
6
my point.
people before
I'll put 6.
him.
Listen, Carson Wentz didn't force Dallas to drop 6 passes in a 1-score game. They don't drop those passes, they probably win the game. That's not Carson Wentz. Carson Wentz didn't dial up the defense. That's Jim Schwartz. Carson Wentz didn't play the way he's not.
But Carson Wentz also showed you the ability to come back. So who's to say? So I'm saying not yesterday, but I'm saying who's to say that if Dallas was effective, that Carson would have been more effective?
He might have, but I will point out that in a 1-score game in the 4th quarter, he fumbled again with around 5 minutes to go in the game, and then in the very next play, throws a pass to the feet, in a screen pass at the receiver's feet, and they're with the blockers set up, they may have had a first down. But my point is with Wentz, you say with Ertz, you say his best receivers are out. No, Ertz is his best receiver. Ertz might wind up in the Hall of Fame one day. He's in his prime. You know who knocked Ertz out of the game? Wentz knocked Ertz out of the game. He almost got him killed by overthrowing him. But Goddard's good. The second guy is also good, as you saw. Miles Sanders is an emerging star we didn't know about at the beginning of the season. I said before the game he might be the best back on the field. He was the best player on the field, either team. Those are just facts. And here's the big thing. Roseman's an astute GM, right? They have an astute GM in Philly. You know what he knew when the corner who went to L.A.,
Jalen Ramsey.
When Jalen Ramsey was available, you know what the Eagles knew? The Eagles knew we can't afford a guy like that in the secondary. Sure, we'd love him. We can't afford him because we're giving all this money to our franchise quarterback. And the reason I bring up McNabb is McNabb had in the year 2000, he would have killed for Zach Ertz and Goddard and Miles Sanders. He would have killed for those guys. Won 11 games and a playoff game without that. So he didn't need the help that Wentz apparently needs.
There were several plays that could have materialized into big plays.
Fair.
If the Dallas Cowboys receivers, for the most part, and Dak Prescott on a couple occasions had thrown the football accurately. So if I have to take that into consideration, it's hard for me to then say Malcolm Jenkins deserves more credit.
That's totally fair. But Stephen A., let me ask you this. then you're saying it's either you got to give Jim Schwartz credit or the Dallas receivers for dropping passes credit, right?
Fine. But what I'm saying to you is that still doesn't take away from the opportunities that Carson Wentz maximized. You're talking about ball control. You're talking about moving the chains. We're not talking about how the finished product is in terms of scoring. Sometimes you kept Dallas's defense off the field. Sometimes you gave your defense a rest by keeping your offense on the field, moving the chains instead of going for the big play, knowing that you couldn't. And again, if you're down 3 receivers and you're playing with 2 practice squad players, and then you couple that with the fact that your tight end, your number 1 target, and Zach Ertz ends up going down. I think it was the elbow.
Carson Wentz's fault.
What I'm saying, what are you talking about is his fault?
Carson Wentz overthrows Ertz, like second play of the game.
Okay.
Almost got Ertz killed.
All
That's
right,
why he was a decoy the rest of the game.
Let's move this conversation forward. How confident are we that Carson Wentz can get it done in Week 17?
100%. It's against the Giants. 100%.
I'm not 100%. NFC East is funky like that. And Carson Wentz, I will say this about Wentz. The thing that's encouraging, if you want to say, did Wentz have an encouraging performance? No doubt, because he did the things you're talking about. He game managed, and then he also did things only Mahomes can do. He made 4 throws yesterday that you're like, if that's not Patrick Mahomes or Carson Wentz, you can't do it. Right. So I would say this. Those are encouraging signs, but this is the 2nd game consecutively against a weak NFC rival, the NFC East rival, where with the game on the line, late in the game, he coughs it up. So against the Giants team that's feeling themselves right now and is stupid enough to try to win that game, after they, I think it's not over. This is not over.
Well, I will say this, and I'll end it this way. Nothing would please me more than if the Eagles lost, but there was still time left in the game for the Cowboys to beat the Redskins, and the Cowboys managed to find a way, knowing that the Eagles lost, and the Cowboys found a way to lose the Redskins game.
Both the
Nothing
Eagles
would please
and Cowboys
me more.
are
And that would be hilarious.
alive.
That would be more hilarious than this. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.